الله سباقا وواسطيح مطر عند الله سباقا وواسطيح مطر
يا معشر قريش ارتحلوا فإني مرتحل.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ جاءتكم جنود فأرسلنا عليهم ريحا وجنودا لم تروها وكان الله بما تعملون بصيرا. إذ جاءوكم من فوقكم ومن أسفل منكم وإذ زاغت الأبصار وبلغت القلوب الحناجر وتظنون بالله الظنونا.
Today, sons, I will relate to you the battle of Ahzab, the Confederates.
Ahzab?
Yes, Ahzab. Yes, it is. The battle of Ahzab, the Confederates, is the battle of Al-Khandaq.
What was victories in it? Why was it called the Battle of Ahzab?
I will tell you first about the reasons behind this battle and mention who formed those groups that marched to attack the Muslims in Al-Madinah.
We are all ears.
When Quraysh failed in destroying the Muslims in the Battle of Uhud, they realized how strong the Muslims will be and how weak they was, especially after the Muslims chased the Pharisees in a place called Hamra al-Asad, the place the Muslims marched to. Then some other tribes must have supported Quraysh. That's right. Before I mention these tribes, I will tell you the other reason behind this battle, which was the removal of the people of An-Nadir.
Who were they?
An-Nadir is a Jewish tribe that lived in the suburbs of Al-Madinah. They had compacts with the Muslims that they pay ransoms and some of war expenses. In return for their protection by the Muslims.
Then, grandfather, you didn't tell us behind their removing from Al-Madinah.
One day, the Prophet, peace be upon him, with a group of his companions, went to the Jewish of An-Nadir to make them participate in the ransom of 2 killed men from the tribe of Amr. Yes, they showed their agreement to contribute and seated the Prophet, peace be upon him, near one of their houses, after ordering a man of them to go up the roof of that house and threw a rock on the Prophet, peace be upon him, to kill him.
What ugly morals!
The Almighty Allah revealed to his Prophet, peace be upon him, this conspiracy. So he, peace be upon him, stood up and returned fast to Al-Madinah. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, led an army and marched to punish the people for An-Nadir. This the result of treachery and betrayal. What happened then? This trip was beside by the Muslims of 6 days, and that was in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal, in the 4th year of Hijrah. Allah threw terror in the Jewish hearts, and they surrendered to the Prophet's judgment. Where were they dismissed to? They were dismissed to Khaybar and Syria. O people of Quraysh, you have to get rid of Muhammad and his companions. Do not be afraid. Victories will be on your side. All the Jewish and the Confederates of the Arabs will join you against them. I will make all Arabs hit Muhammad with one sword. This will be a deadly hand. Surely he is one of the Jewish chiefs. Exactly. He is the head of a Nadir tribe and one of the most notorious criminals of Jewish. He went to Mecca to raise Quraysh, the enemy of Islam, against the Muslims. It's sure that Quraysh was happy for this call. Some of the Arab tribes, Murrah, Ghatafan, and Fizara held a connection with Al-Harith and Aus. Abu Sufyan and Utbah, we the Jewish have succeeded by our malice and spit to ride the Confederates against Muhammad and his companions. Did the Jews succeed in doing so? Be patient, sons. Being headed by Abu Sufyan, the Confederates marched to Al-Madinah, and that was in the 5th year of Hijrah. Their number was 10,000. 10,000? When the Prophet, peace be upon him, heard about that, he consulted his companions what to do. Salman al-Farisi, may Allah be pleased with him, Salman al-Farisi, may Allah be pleased with him, suggested that the Muslims dig a trench around the Medina to prevent the Pharisees from entering it. A trench? Khandaq, you mean? For this it was called the Battle of Al-Khandaq? Excellent. Yes, they did. Although the Arabs were not familiar with trench digging as a war strategy, the Muslims started working as one man with the Prophet, peace be upon him, in digging the trench, and their number was 3,000. The Prophet, peace be upon him, himself worked hard in the digging, dust lifting and stone breaking. It's we who supported Muhammad, peace be upon him, to fight with him in the way of Allah forever. to fight with him in the way of Allah forever? I'm proud of being a Muslim. I'm proud of you both. The Prophet, peace be upon him, during the digging of Al-Khandaq, used to say, "O Allah, the goodness is that of the heart fire. O Allah, the goodness is that of the hereafter. O Allah, the goodness is that of the hereafter. So forgive the Ansar and Al-Muhajirin." No, it took only several days. No, it took only several days. The trench was dug in the north of Al-Madinah, and Muslims camped there waiting for the enemy's advance. When Quraysh and its allies arrived, they were astonished to find the trench preventing them from invading Al-Madinah and achieving their ends. The Arab don't use like this plan before. They camped around the trench, and some of their knights tried to pass over it with their horses. And Amr bin al-Wadi' al-Amiri succeeded in that. Ali bin Abu Talib had a duel with him and killed him in that hard time. I prefer to go back home. There is no one there I prefer to go back home. There is no one there to take care of my family. So do I. The big army will defeat the little army. We are family based. There is no doubt that we will be defeated. Can hypocrites be found at any time or place? Yes. At that moment, Huyay bin Akhtab saw that there was no access to Al-Madinah except through the side of the Jewish tribe of Quraysh. At that moment, Huyay bin Akhtab saw that there was no access to Al-Madinah except through the side of the Jewish tribe of Quraysh, which was still in trust with the Prophet, peace be upon him. So he went to their head, Ka'b bin Asad. "O Ka'b, I have come to you with the great tribe of Quraysh and its heads and Arab tribes and their leaders. They promised me to destroy Muhammad and his companions. What's your answer?" "No, I'm afraid." "Listen, I know you have a trust with the Muslims, but there is no reason for fear while the Confederates are beginning Al-Madinah. While the Confederates are basing the Al-Madinah, you are completely safe. You are completely safe." "All right." Ha 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 ha. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, heard about Qurayda's break for their promise, so he sent them some of his companions, including Sa'd bin Mu'adh. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, heard about Qurayda's break for their promise, so he sent them some of his companions, including Sa'd bin Mu'adh.
Did the people of Qurayda return to their promise?
No, they did not. When Saad reminded them of their promise, they started insulting him.
Malice, treachery, and betrayal.
The Muslims were deeply hurt, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Allah is the greatest. Be glad, O Muslims.
Hardship is always followed by relief, and victory rests on patience.
That's right, my sons. It was very long.
What did the Prophet, peace be upon him, do to face this awful situation?
The Prophet, peace be upon him, wanted to have a recondition with the hearts of the Ghatafan by giving them a third of Al-Madina's production of fruit in order to make them go back, and thus the Prophet could defeat the rest of the army.
That's a great idea.
He first consulted the two Sa'ds. The two Sa'ds, Sa'd bin Abdullah and Sa'd bin Mu'adh. O Prophet of Allah, if this idea was revealed, O Prophet of Allah, if this idea was revealed to you by Allah, then we must do it. But if it is your own idea, then we don't find its solution.
When we are philosophists like them, they never dare to lust for one fruit except by trade or by our hospitality.
And now, when we are defeated by Islam, we let them take it. By Allah, we will fight them hard with our swords. The Prophet, peace be upon him, agreed on their decision and justified his idea by the big number of enemies. During the siege, Naim bin Mossad, a man from the tribe of Ghatafan, came to the Prophet, peace be upon him. O Prophet of Allah, I have joined Islam, and my people do not know about this. So command me to do whatever you like.
Here comes the victory.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, help us if you can. War is a trick. Naim went back, and by means of a trick, he was able to plant dispute between the Confederates and the people of Qurayda till no one felt safe for the other. The Prophet, peace be upon him, entreated Allah and said, O Allah, revealer of the Quran, defeat the Confederates and make us victories over them. O Quraysh, do return. I am going back. The Confederates went back disappointed, and the Muslims were spared the fight, and the siege was over.
He defeated his soldiers,
and he alone defeated the Confederates. In this way, Allah made the Muslims victories and uncovered the hypocrites and the traitors of Qurayza.
How many were killed of the Philistines?
3. The Prophet, peace be upon him, called the Muslims, saying, "None performs the afternoon prayers except in the district of Qurayza. After 20 days' siege, the Jews surrendered, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, left the judgment to Sa'd bin Mu'adh. It's time for Sa'd not to be blamed in Allah's right. Their men are to kill, their families to enslave, and their money to distribute." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "That's right, judgment." And this judgment was accepted, and this judgment was executed. The Battle of the Confederates was one of the decisive battles in the history of Islam, and after it, the Battle of Confederates was one of the battles in the history of Islam, and after it, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Now we invade them, and they will never march to invade us again." Mention some of them. It showed that hardship strengthens the believers and uncovers the hypocrites, and good faith in Allah is the means to victory. Now, grandfather, would you relate to us another battle of Islam? Fine, but next time, God willing,